Okay, now let's just go through what we have discussed a minute ago before the break, just to make sure that what we have discussed concerning the program learning outcomes, the PLOs and the CLOs, is clear. Now, okay. We said that in order to make sure that your CLOs, which are the course learning outcomes, are written perfectly and mapped into the program learning outcomes, the PLOs, you need to bring side by side your course specification document, the one which is blank, that you plan to prepare for the course, and the program specification. So in order to prepare your course specification, you need your program specification and all parts of it in order to get the ID, the course ID, the general information that identify the course, the credit hours, the main objective, etc. But most importantly, because you need to align your CLOs to the PLOs. And how is that? By reading each PLO and asking yourself, as an expert who has taught this course at least once, and that will take us to what we have said in the very beginning. Not anyone is able to write a course specification. It should be either by an expert, someone with at least 3 years of experience in teaching in this department, teaching this course at least once. If this condition is not possible, if it's not applicable, then it is advised that a group of instructors who are specialized, even if they are not going to teach this course, which is, of course, not acceptable, because people supposed to teach a course are those who are specialized in this course. So if they gather together and they come to this point, preparing the CLOs, and when they read the PLOs that are already pre-defined in the program specification, they will be able to pinpoint which PLO is applicable to the current course specification. And when they choose it, they are going to align it here. Now, I decided that this course, okay, this course meets the PLOs K1 and K4. So they should be here. Okay, they should be stated here. And not only that, you should also state whether it is introduced, I, practiced, P, or mastered, M. And the whole matrix, if you go back to the program specification, the whole matrix lists all the courses taught in this program. And you will notice that most of the MPs are in the advanced courses, whereas the preliminary or introductory courses are mostly either introduced or practiced. So it is something descending. Okay, when you go down in the advanced courses, in other words, when you move from a level to the next level, the courses will be oriented around skills that should be mastered. Okay, and the old version of the course of the quality requirements guideline, only mastered skills were measured. Okay, but in 2020 there were so many changes that took place in terms of course specification and course evaluation, in which all the skills should be or the PLOs and CLOs should be measured according, of course, to achievement criteria that is decided by the NCAAA. or by the program itself, the program designers, those who designed the program specification. So just to summarize, when you prepare your course specification, you are facing one of two cases. It's either blank and you are going to start from scratch. And in this case, of course, you will need to, and in this case, you will need to read each PLO and decide whether it relates to the course you are teaching. Next, you are going to rephrase the PLO and make it more specific. Now, what is the difference between the CLO and the PLO? The PLO is more general because it is on the program level. It includes most, if not all, actually all the different branches or components of language when we speak about Department of English Language. So you will find in K1, for example, English linguistics, literature, and translation. Whereas the CLO is more specific. It is course-oriented. It discusses and details and shows the objectives or the learning outcomes that are related to this specific course, not to the whole program. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to read carefully each PLO and ask yourself these two questions. First question, does it relate to the course I'm teaching? If the answer is no, then you will exclude it. The answer is yes. It will take you to the second question. How can I narrow down this very broad learning outcomes to make it more specific and course-oriented? Course-oriented. Be careful with this phrase, course-oriented, which means that this objective, this learning outcome is applicable only to the course I'm teaching, not any other course. Okay, so when you finish the course, your CLOs, you need to be, number one, you need to be comprehensive and overall at the same time. It means that you should cover all the learning outcomes that are in the PLO and that relate to your course. Number two, you should have at most 8 learning outcomes, 8 PLOs. Be careful, having so many learning outcomes, it means that the course you are teaching is not specific. Okay, it is trying to cover more than one topic. It's not general and it's not specific. It's scattered. It covers so many areas. This is the first possibility. The other possibility is that the way you are wording your course, your CLOs, is not correct. In other words, you are breaking down one CLO into 3 CLOs, which is not acceptable. If this CLO is covered by another course, a different course, then don't include it. It's that simple. Okay? If it is included in your course only, and it can be merged in another CLO, then merge them together. Because eventually you will have to test, to measure each CLO. When you come to your course report, each CLO should be evaluated, measured, and the achievements by the overall achievement of students should be analyzed. So you will face a huge problem when you design your exams. You will find that one of your CLOs is unmeasurable. Why? Because either because it's too specific, it is merged in another skill, or because it doesn't exist. So try not to fill the CLOs with unnecessary or unrealistic CLOs. Okay. Again, if you are going to use more than one PLO, the maximum number is 2. Number 3, it's okay for some courses not to have value. We find value, the value is mostly in courses, for example, in literature courses, because it depends on appreciating different branches of literature, for example. In some courses, for example, in theoretical courses, let's say grammar. In grammar, maybe the only value that is applicable to all courses in any program is to demonstrate leadership, for example, cooperativeness, for example, building good relationships with colleagues. That's it. But it's okay not to have it, especially in advanced courses, because this value has been already achieved in previous courses. So this is number 3. Number 1, again, you need to cover all the skills, all the evaluation or assessment tools, your tests, your lessons, your lesson plans should be built around the student. And they should be built around the student in a way that they achieve these 2 CLOs, but not necessarily all of them. This is number 1. Again, I'm repeating. Number 2, if you have to use one PLO more than once, it's fine, on one condition that you don't overuse it. Because again, you will be faced with a problem of designing your exam questions or your assessment tools or presentation or whatever. Number 3, it's okay for some courses not to have the V or the value PLOs. Now, this is a checklist for you. Supposing that you have already finished designing and preparing your CLOs, you should ask yourself these questions. This is a checklist for you. You should go through your CLOs and ask yourself about each CLO. Does it describe what students should know, be able to, which means should know or be able to, and values, values to represent, demonstrate, and produce. So your CLOs should cover all these 3 parts, if possible. So this should be yes. This is your checklist, of course, but I suppose that you have done it successfully. Number 2, is it worked properly using action verbs, worded, which is, and CLOs is all about wording, good wording, okay? Because they are phrases describing what students will be able to do throughout, say, 12-week trimester. And suitable terms related to the course. Is it distinct and specific? Does it map to curriculum and educational practices? Is it student-centered? Is it written in terms of observable behavioral outcomes? Is it designed so that if it can be assessed by various methods of assessment, so they should be measurable, okay? Is it aligned with PLOs? So these, of course, if you try to find other checklists, for example, or guidelines, you will find tens of them, but I think these are the most important things for us for the time being. Then we move to section C, the course content, which has, I think it doesn't need so much explanation. Of course, if you are using a textbook, generally the textbook is divided into, especially if it is an educational book, a textbook, it is divided into chapters, and we usually discuss them chapter by chapter throughout the course. What is important here is that the contact hours should be stated clearly. I have seen in some course specifications, one topic, you can see the course specification is like that. One topic, one very long topic, another very long topic, and here says 6 weeks, and here, for example, 5 weeks. Okay, this might be an excellent thing for you, for yourself as an instructor. Okay, because you know what you're going to do, but this is not the right thing. When you mention the topics to be discussed in the course content, it should be detailed, okay? If you are going to discuss one topic in 2 weeks, you should mention them, both of them. For example, if I'm going to discuss the syllable in 2 weeks, I will mention it in topic number 1, week number 1, okay? Then again, I will mention it again, the syllable, part 2, week number 3. Okay, and the total number of contact hours again should be exactly the same as in the first part, I think, in part B, I guess. I think part B. So always there must be a consistency in the number of the contact hours. So you're just going to list the topics that you're going to discuss. Now we come to the other very important point, which is alignment of course learning outcomes with teaching strategies and assessment methods. What you're going to do here is just copy and paste from the above CLOs that you have just stated above. So here, just copy and paste. Now let's come to teaching strategy and assessment method. There are, let's say, agreed upon strategies and methods when it comes to the learning outcomes. These are summarized here. You can make use of them. For example, knowledge. When you come to knowledge, the agreed upon teaching strategies are an effective lecturing, effective classroom discussion, active learning, because it is knowledge. It is something that is implied. It's hard to design a certain strategy to deliver them. It's not as easy as it is. So you can use either effective, and please avoid the slate word lectures. It's actually effective lecturing. Effective lecturing includes brainstorming, includes asking questions, smart questions. It includes catchy introductions. So it should be effective lecturing, not only lectures. Could be also effective classroom discussions. Maybe if you are giving your students a problem to solve, a topic to discuss, debate, for example, things like that, or active learning. So this, when we come to knowledge. Now, how are we going to assess knowledge? Either by using written examination, quizzes, midterms, etc., or MCQs, multiple choice questions, short answer questions, and short reports. So by using these methods, you can measure your students' knowledge. And now here, you can also go to Bloom's taxonomy to see what type of questions you can use in your examination. If you ask your students to define something, you are measuring knowledge. But if you ask your students to compare and contrast, you are measuring skill. So I advise you, when you design your teaching strategy and assessment methods, to go to this document to help you, plus to Bloom's taxonomy, and I will provide you with both, inshallah. Now let's go to skills. What are the teaching strategies appropriate or more effective for skills? Again, effective lecturing, effective classroom discussion, active learning, case study, brainstorming. That's why, for example, skills are more prominent in courses of writing, for example, in courses that measure students' language skills, reading, speaking, listening, writing, because brainstorming and active learning are so apparent in this type of skill, this type of language skills. How can I measure students' skills? Either by assignments, essays, reports, also tests, quizzes, multiple choice questions, they also apply. So even these three parts, three types of or three methods, they can be used to assess skills. Again, you need to go back to Bloom's taxonomy to see which type of question or type of question, yes, that I can use to in my tests or reports or whatever. Now, values are something specific. They are not measured using traditional ways, tests and exams. Basically, we use rubrics, oral presentation, and because, of course, because in oral presentation you have a rubric to assess and evaluate your students. How can I improve? How can I focus on my students' values as an instruction, using my instruction methods, either by projects, cooperative learning, pair work, group work, for example, workshop. If you assign your students to do something, for example, for English club, and you go and attend their presentation, this is an excellent chance for you to assess also, or to assess their values using your own rubric. So this is the only CLO that you can measure even without the traditional ways, even outside your course. Your students might show a sense of leadership, cooperation, for example, being initiative in outside the classroom, in extracurricular activities. And this will be an excellent chance if you want to, if your course includes one of the values and you want to assess your students, you can just attend any activity with them in which they use English language, and you can use the rubric you have for this value. And because you are going later on, the next step, you are going to design your assessment method. This is an example. Of course, this is an application of what I have said. Here, you can see that I just copied and pasted, and this should be exactly the same as your course, your CLOs. Okay, the course learning outcomes should be copied and pasted. Describe phonetic, etc. So you can see, you can see here, for example, for describe syllable structure and segmental elements. This is done by handouts, online exercises, in-class exercises, effective class discussion. And how is it measured? In assignments, quizzes, midterm exam, and final exam. And it is preferable, if it is not a must, that all your CLOs, specifically the Ks and the Ss, should be measured in both the midterm exam and the final exam, because these are the major and the main assessment tools that you are going to mention here. And this takes us to section C, part 2. Here you're going to, here you're going to mention the tasks, when they are going to be conducted, and how much percentage of the overall score, which is out of 100, of course, is assigned to this task. For example, I have 2 quizzes, and because it's for the quizzes specifically and for the assignments, because it's not always easy to decide, it depends on the course of the semester. Maybe it's safe to say just throughout the term or the semester, and you will decide throughout the semester in agreement with your students. But the midterm exam and the final exam, they should be clearly, explicitly decided prior to the semester. Now, the final exam, whether you want to decide if it is the 12th, for example, week, or you can just write by the end of the semester, both are acceptable. The percentage should be divided to the tasks, and the total should be 100%. Now we come to student academic counseling. Academic counseling. Here you are going to explain all types of arrangements for availability of your availability, or the instructor and teaching assistant for for individual students, if you are having tutorial or mentoring for students with low proficiency or with achievement, with the low academic achievement, or for your all for the whole batch. Okay, so so you are going to decide the office hours, for example, ways to contact you, examples of academic counseling and support. You can write, for example, 5-hour in predetermined office hours, by appointment on per need basis, model learning management, and we all have this in Shakira University. So this is another way of supporting your students or being available for your students whenever needed. A student may email instructor, for example. Students may use group or individual chat messaging using Telegram, which is another popular way of communicating with students. This is an example. The course has located 2 office hours for individual students consultation and academic advice. These hours are known to the students from the very beginning of the course. You can add, for example, they are demonstrated on the office door or on a bulletin, for example, if there is an announcement bulletin for the department. Students know they can see the course instructor during these hours to seek any help or clarification. Office hours, office email, Telegram group for the course. Now we come to learning resources, and I think we'll be just maybe 10 minutes late, if that's okay with you, Lana. Now it's almost 8 o'clock, but I hope I'm not holding you from something important. I'll just go through these quickly. I think what is more important, the most important part has to do with the learning CLOs and the assessment methods. I will go through things just quickly. Learning resources and facilities. We're going to mention the required textbook, essential reference materials, and other materials if available. For example, the required textbook. This is the one that students the students are going to use every class. And the essential reference book. These are not mandatory, but students can refer to them for extra information. Electronic materials. You can. For example, here, because it's phonology, students will need the IPA keyboard. So there is a link here for them to use the keyboard. You can also add here your course page on Moodle. So there is a course page for each one of us in which we upload the basic material for the course. You can also copy and paste the link over here. It is required here. You are going to decide whether there are accommodations, specific accommodation, technology resources, and other resources. For example, accommodation, what I need is a lecture room with smart board and data show, computer, internet connection, and data show, and that's it. That will be enough. If your course needs, if it needs a phonetics lab, for example, you can mention that. And this will be suitable, and this will be very helpful actually when you write your final course report. Because if you ask for phonology or phonetics laboratory and it is not provided, and your student's overall achievement is below expected, you can mention that in your report and point out that there is no, the resources were not enough or adequate to achieve this goal. This will maybe promote the department or the college to prepare a phonetics lab for next semester. So that's all about the facilities required. Now we come to a course quality evaluation, and here comes some of the mistakes that I have seen. So evaluation of the course is done in different areas and by different people and by different methods. The different methods are either direct or indirect, because sometimes here you find lots of wordings here. What should be written here before anything is to decide whether the evaluation method is direct or indirect. Let's jump to this. I will show you an example, then we will come to the direct and indirect methods. Now, the evaluation, this is an example. Of course, we don't apply them all in the department, but this is the ideal example. For example, the first area to be evaluated is the achievement of course learning outcomes. And this is done by the instructor of the course. How is that? Either direct method, which is by using the rubrics, or indirect methods, for example, the course exit survey. We don't have a course exit survey, but this is one of the methods that you can use as an instructor. You can make an overall, or let me say, an extensive exam, something comprehensive that covers all the area of the course, which is not for the students to pass the course. It's for you to evaluate whether your students achieved the overall CLOs or not. If you have done this, then you can write it down here in the evaluation, the course evaluation. Okay, so it's up to you. What we do in the meantime, actually, is just we depend on the students' surveys that we send to the students, and we analyze, and we can come up with these points of strength and points of weakness, and that's it. But you, as an instructor, you can vary your evaluation methods. You can create your own surveys, apart from other surveys that are used by all the faculty members. You can design your own survey to measure students' achievement of the CLO of your own course. This will be good for you, especially if you are going to teach this course again and again. It will give you a clear insight of the points of weakness or strength in your course or in your teaching method. Okay. Also, the achievement of course learning outcomes can be by students. Again, you can. This is what we do. I think this is the only thing that we do. We send students a link of the evaluation survey, and we analyze it and we summarize the results. Effectiveness of teaching and class management. This is the chairperson peers. This is on a higher level. It's something above the faculty members. This is done by class observation, and we don't have this, I guess, here. We don't have peer visits. I don't visit any of my colleagues to help her evaluate her course. So, but again, these are only examples on how you can fill in this part, evaluation areas, who is doing the evaluation, and how the evaluation is done. Again, these are examples. I will provide you with these examples just for you, just to exemplify if you want to use them in your course specification. Now, the examples for direct and indirect methods. Direct methods are midterms, oral tests, classroom discussions, and if you notice that all these are concerned with CLOs. Okay, the indirect methods, these are that you take without telling students directly that they are being evaluated. For example, average of students' participation in active learning. Now, we don't have a grade. You don't have a grade, for example, 5 marks for students' participation in active learning. But you can calculate it every class, and with the calculation, you can come up with a conclusion concerning students' participation in active learning. It will give you an indication of your students' participation. For example, you will notice that your students participate in pair work more than their participation in collaborative work or in group work. So it will give you an indication that it is preferable to adopt pair work in this course because it's more effective and because it evokes more participation on the part of students. Student surveys, peer surveys. If you want one of your colleagues to attend some of your classes, and maybe you will give her a sheet of evaluation, this will help you know your points of strength, especially if you share the same specialization. Or maybe you can ask another colleague from a different department to evaluate points of strength or points of weakness in your teaching, apart from the academic component of the class. Personal, for example, component, maybe to see if your body language, is suitable for teaching, etc. Okay, specification of approval data. This is the last step after the course coordinator and all the colleagues sharing the same course approve it, and they present it to the department council. In the meeting, the number of the meeting should be stated here, the number of the meeting should be stated here. Maybe it's the 6th session, the 7th session. Here it should be stated who was it approved by the department council, or maybe by the program manager. It depends on who's authorized to approve course specifications. Okay, that's it for stop sharing. Yeah. Okay, that's all I have to say about writing your course specification, revising it, and trying to pinpoint the points of strength, points of weakness, how to write a course specification from scratch, if possible, and how to revise the course specification if you are teaching the course for the second time, or if the course specification that is used needs to be updated, needs to be examined, needs to be linked to the results of the previous semester, etc. I hope that was helpful, my dear colleagues. I hope I wasn't talking too quickly as I usually do. I hope you don't have questions still unanswered, but if you have any, I'm all ears.